back in Detroit. This is certainly not my first time being here. I've been here several times, but more recently I was here last year. I was here earlier this year too.
Yeah,
Reverend Sheffield. But to be back here, you know, and not to be the type of leader and also working for the type of campaign that only comes when it's time to try to get your votes, but to come back to be here on a regular basis to talk to the needs of our people. And I just want to commend, I didn't catch the gentleman's name. Well, first of all, the baby that was speaking. I know he probably, Mama, he don't want to be called a baby, but I got Jordan. So I got one too, and he's always going to be my baby no matter how old he gets. But, you know, he just really touched my heart, not just because he said that I was one of his inspirations, but because of the truth that he spoke. And we do know that our lives, our future is in good hands with young people like Jordan. So I want to give him a round of applause. Man, I got a chance to be on the radio today.
Yes.
Detroit and Black and White, right? We could have went on for an hour. It was so amazing.
Yes.
It kind of shocked me. I guess I shouldn't have been so shocked because they just came straight out the gate.
Could you move over this way just a little bit?
Oh.
So we can so we'll see.
Okay. Wait, I can't move.
Yeah, you must stay.
No, she can move where she
Stay
wants.
right up in here. Okay. You gonna keep a sister? I got to stay right up in here. That feels a lot like our lives sometimes. We try to keep us right, you know, right. But so again, really good to be back here in Detroit. I remember when I was here last year on behalf of the Senator Bernie Sanders campaign that I had a chance to sit down with a bunch of African American leaders to talk about the concerns in Detroit. And not just the concerns, but the hopes and the dreams. And a lot of the concerns here are the same concerns that our sisters and brothers all over the country tell me. And it doesn't matter if I'm rural or urban or suburban, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, it is the same concern. It is the concern that Congresswoman Barbara Jordan pointed out in these words. What the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise. And that's what folks want. And we need to make sure that we hold elected officials accountable. So meanwhile, back at the ranch, the gentleman, and I didn't catch his name, who said, and I say this everywhere that I go, that to the extent that the African American community in particular has been the moral voice for this country. That every liberation struggle in this country that has catapulted African Americans to the next level in terms of being treated like equals has catapulted everybody in this country. We are the moral consciousness of this nation, and our history bears that out. So I was just thinking about, you know, the theme, reclaiming our democracy and what that means. And it's not just a moment in time. This is not just about that man that's in the White House, Mr. Trump. This is not just about him. Because if we make it only about him when he's not there anymore, we're going to go back to sleep. This is bigger than him. This is about the kind of nation that we want to live in. And as painful as this moment may be, sisters and brothers, I keep always hoping that Rod Serling is going to pop out Twilight Zone. Or many of you may remember Ashton Kutcher had a show called Punk'd, you know, and they would hide and have the cameras. I'm just waiting on Ashton to pop out at any time, you know, to tell us that this stuff right here is not real. But you know what? It is real. And it really is just a reminder of the things, the isms that plague this country, that are in the DNA of this country, as much as we hate to admit it, that we have not addressed as a nation. And so you bring forward a candidate like Mr. Trump that was able to win the White House by the Electoral College votes to remind us that we still have to deal with racism and sexism and xenophobia and the fact that income and wealth inequality is still a problem in this country. It didn't start with him. This was here before he got here, and it's not going to end with him. So to the extent that there is any promise in this problem, it is that we are all hashtag where my millennials are, woke. And we cannot go back to sleep. So reclaiming our democracy is not just about a season. See, Mr. Trump is only going to be there for a season.
Lord, half a season.
A season. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the likelihood that he will be impeached is slim. Impeachment is a political process. And so to the extent that the Republicans control both chambers of the Congress, it's slim. I'm not saying it might not happen, but let's just say just in case. Just in case it does not happen, we know that 2020 is on the way. So there's an African proverb that says that one must never build their shield on the battlefield. Well, sisters and brothers, it's shield building time. It's past shield building. When I was in Columbia, South Carolina about a week ago, I had a gentleman, white gentleman, and he said, you know, Republicans kept talking about repeal and replace, repeal and replace. They want to repeal Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, but they never really came up with anything of substance to replace it. And then he likened that. Now follow me, sisters and brothers. He likened that to our positioning right now. That you have a whole bunch of folks, not all, but a whole bunch of folks who want to repeal, i.e. replace Trump. But what are we going to replace him with?
Right.
Come on, let's think about that, right? So I want us to go deep on that. We talk about repeal and replace, let's have something to replace with. That's worthy. So that's the thing. So I jumped the gun. I got to thank the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus and our revolution. The president told me I was going to be honored today. You know, it just really blew me away because I'm really a humble person. I don't get caught up on my own hype. Because I'm just a human being that God has blessed to be able to use my gifts every single day to lift people, and that's what I do on a regular basis. I am a Mother Jones kind of girl, and she said she would pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. Mother Jones also said that instead of being a humanitarian, she was going to be a hell raiser, so I brought them all together. I'm a hell raiser. People ask me, you know, what party you subscribe to? The hell raising humanitarian party. That's what I do. Being a Democrat. You know, so I was moved by that because the last time we were here at Tustin account, it was a hard time. I was in the room with black folks and it was really hard.
Amen.
Having a hard time. They treated a sister. You know, they gave the audience, but begrudgingly, you know. But and they showed it. They let it be known that they were not happy. Now, Senator Sanders won Michigan nevertheless.
Yes.
No thanks to the Democratic Party.
Now the polling is showing a whole different story in 2017 than it did in 2016. But it's okay, whether you support it, whether you're a Clintonite or a Bernie-crat, this is really not about those two individuals anymore. This is about us. And what I said on the radio program today, Detroit in Black and White, is that this is not the time for us to be separated based on candidates in 2016. We've been catching hell since day zero.
Yes.
And you got black folks who are going to be mad at each other over some candidates. It's just not worth it. So we got to learn how to come together as sisters and brothers and fight for what we know is right. And in the African American liberation fight, we liberate, as my grandmother used to say, lottie-dottie and everybody. So can you walk down memory lane with me? I can't help myself because I am a historian and I'm thinking about revolutions in this country. So in the 1700s, it was the revolution of freedom from Great Britain, the American Revolution. In the 1800s, it was the revolution over whether or not we're going to keep black folks enslaved, the Civil War. And in the 1900s, particularly the 1950s and 1960s, it was the revolution that we call the Civil Rights movement that finally, from the 13th Amendment to the Constitution to the Civil Rights Act, that finally black folks were going to have their opportunity to be treated like true equals in this country. 3 revolutions. So here we find ourselves in the 21st century going with the Revolution Remix. And that Revolution Remix requires us to understand that we have been here before. And I'm talking to a people who were vilified, who were treated like chattel. No better than this chair, no better than a dog and a horse, in some cases treated less than. We have been here before. And so I want to cement in your mind that although it is our moral obligation to fight against an administration that seeks to bring back the war on drugs. It is our moral obligation to stand up for our sisters and brothers in the immigrant community of all ethnicities. There are African folks in the African diaspora that is getting caught up in that. We got some European sisters and brothers that are getting caught up in that. And we have our Hispanic sisters and brothers caught up in that. It is our moral obligation to say that we are not going to deport 11 million people. So we have to care about those things. We need to care about environmental injustice. Our sisters and brothers in Flint, Michigan can testify to the fact that for almost 4 years, because of bureaucrats and politicians who don't have the ovaries to do the right thing, they're still suffering. And that was before Mr. Trump even took the oath of office. So what am I saying, sisters and brothers? I'm saying that Mr. Trump is an easy target. We must fight against him and his administration who seek to take us back in time as a whole. But we also have to fight against institutional racism that has been here since day zero.
Absolutely.
So now, I am worried about when the neo-Nazis marched in Charlottesville. I'm very worried about that, because anytime anybody's in your face with racism and they bring back a colored water fountain and a white water fountain, we got to show up and we got to fight back. But sisters and brothers, that's easy. I'm more worried about the people who wear blue suits over white sheets. That's right. I'm more worried about administrations that have written into public policy things that keep African American folks and poor folks in that status, that they are treated like second-class citizens in housing, in healthcare, in environment, in a prison system. All of that before Mr. Trump took the oath of office. So before we get giddy about Democrats talking to us and whispering sweet nothings in our ear, what we need to know is what they're going to do about criminal justice.
Yeah. Right.
2020 is coming, and that's why I asked the question, repeal and replace with what?
There you go.
And so we got to be cognizant of that. So we have been here before. And there is no man and no woman, I do not believe, that is greater than the God that I serve. This is a moment in time. This is a season. But what we must set up, and we cannot jump over 2017 to get to 2018, we can't jump over 2018 to get to 2019, and we can't jump over 2019 to get to 2020. So every single person that is running for office, from school board member all the way up to the presidency, needs to answer the question that Janet Jackson asked in her song. What have you done
For me lately. Yeah. Right.
I want to know what have you done and what you going to do. Yeah, we're going to reclaim our democracy, and that is what our revolution stands for. We are here to restore the power back to the grassroots and to remind grassroots folks, the mosaic of humanity, that the power is in their hands, and that when people run for office, even if they run for re-election, they owe it to you to earn your vote.
Absolutely.
Before. And that is why our revolution is so committed. You know, we just helped our young brother, Randall Woodfin, the mayor, now in Birmingham, Alabama. We're taking the South back. Or our young brother, Lumumba, in Jackson, Mississippi. Oh yeah, we taking the South back. And we're back to Vincent Ford in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh yeah, we taking the South back. And you got young, progressive African Americans running all over this country, even in the South. You know, I just did a 3-day, 900 miles in 3 days, from Austin, Texas to Tyler. All over that big state, talking to people about why we need them engaged in this fight. And in Tyler, Texas, if anybody knows anything about Tyler, Texas, it's red. It's redder than a mofo. Can I just say? It's red. But in that
They don't have
city,
MTV.
every single they don't have okay. But From Austin, even, I mean, every city that I went to with my colleague, Jim Hightower, who's a legend in Texas. But Tyler struck me the most because it was the reddest part of the state that I had visited at the time. And when I went there to see people from all walks of life, black, white, Hispanic, seasoned, young, gay, straight, Christian, Jew, Gentile, everybody, the rainbow mosaic of humanity, all there standing side by side, wanting to know that they are not alone in their fight for a progressive America. My message today is that together we can change anything, and it is going to take not only a rainbow mosaic, but a conscious-minded folks who understand that we cannot continue along this same course and have an America as good as it's promised, as Congresswoman Barbara Jordan laid out, that this is in fact our moment, and that in our fight against President Trump, and we got to fight the brother, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't fight him, but we must push and breathe. Any of my mamas in here? Who ever been in labor, right?
Yes.
And at that moment of greatest pain, the doctor says push and breathe. And we're going to get through this. And if we keep just watching the man behind the curtain, see, they're getting away with a whole bunch of other stuff because we get caught up in every little drama that President Trump puts out there. Meanwhile, we're not looking at what his cabinet members are doing and what the Congress is doing and other folks are doing to take us back in time as the United States of America. So that means we must protest and we must plan. Protesting is good. We need it. You need that balance. You need people out there taking it to the streets, elevating what is wrong. But you also need on the same side of that, the yin and the yang, you need somebody planning for folks to win offices, planning for folks to take back the power.
Right.
Because politics is about power, baby. Yep. Who has it and who does it, and who has it does matter. Because who has it? And are they willing to wield that power on behalf of the people? That is the key. That's why any old person just won't do.
That's right.
We got to elect folks that are committed more to the next generation than they are to their next election. And that is I was at a DNC event and was blessed to hear the Reverend Bernice King give a speech before the Democratic Party. And she said these words right to the Democratic Party. Wasn't no mixed audience. Everybody in there were Democrat. And she said what people in this world are looking for, not so much who's a Democrat or Republican, they're looking for somebody, for people who will serve humanity at any cost. That's we should get caught up in this. So we've been here before. And we know how to get over. There's a song in the African American spiritual tradition, How I Got Over, My Soul Comes Back and Wonders How I Got Over. We are not new to this. We can do this. And Detroit in particular, you understand, just like your sisters and brothers in Flint, Michigan, you understand what it's going to take to push this city to the next level, and thereby this state to the next level, and thereby this nation to the next level. I'm a Midwesterner too, and I get it. But we can't just sit around and wait for folks with fancy titles to come and save us. Brother Frederick Douglass said power conceives nothing without a struggle, without a demand. It never has, and it never will. So it's time for us to start demanding some stuff. Reminded of Asa Philip Randolph, leader of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, toiled in the civil rights movement even before the civil rights movement was in vogue. But we tend to forget about that because we jump right to the 60s. But some of my history buffs will know that Asa Philip Randolph and his contemporaries put a demand on President FDR about the military industry, the military industrial complex in America. And basically he said to President FDR that we need some stuff. And he wasn't talking about something for him as an individual. He was talking about for a people. To be able to get jobs in that industry and be treated like equals in that industry. And he put the president on notice. He said, these are our list of demands. And if we don't get our list of demands, don't worry about it, we coming. And we gonna march on Washington. And he wasn't marching just to march. He had a list of demands. And after being committed to the demand And when President FDR realized that he wasn't bluffing, an executive order was signed. I tell you that story to say that as we protest, and as we march, we must make sure that we have a list of demands. And make sure and have a consequence for if they are not. We have been here before. And sisters and brothers, we have a whole generation dependent on us and even ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, people often say to me, you know, Senator, you always, you know, mad. You know, so yeah, I'm mad as hell. You know, I am. I'm an angry black woman and I'm taking applications.
Angry black man.
Everybody can sign up for the club and join the club. Because if you're not mad in this environment, and even before, and I'm not talking about Mr. Trump, but if you are not angry and mad, that over 2.2 million folks are housed in prison and almost 1 million of them are black, something's wrong.
That's right.
If you are not mad that we live in a country where even civil rights and voting rights are not a done deal in this country, that folks shall be beholder to strip back access to the ballot box, which is the greatest equalizer that we have before Mr. Trump got in office, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Oh yeah, I'm mad. If you're not mad or angry about environmental injustice that has almost been 4 years since our sisters and brothers in Flint, they still don't have new pipes to have clean water in the United States of America, then something is wrong with you. There are 3,000 other places in the United States of America that have higher lead levels, urban, suburban, and rural, than even in Flint, in the wealthiest country on the face of the earth. If you are not mad that people can't afford their prescription drugs, that a doctor can prescribe you a medicine and you not be able to afford it, if you are not mad that people are saddled, that folks sometimes determine that they're not even going to go to the doctor to get the help that they need because they don't want to be saddled with a bill, or they don't want to saddle their family with a bill, if you're not mad as hell about that, something is wrong with you.
That's right.
If you are not mad that you got elected officials in the Congress in particular who have access to the best health care in the world on our dime, and then say we can't have health care for all, something is wrong with you. But it is a righteous anger, and I choose to use my anger to transform this country.
Amen.
Yeah, when a black woman get mad, then so I want you to join this fight however you see fit. You know, join and support the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus. Join and support our revolution. Join and support. Create your own organization. But what we cannot do is sit on the sidelines and complain.
Right.
Because all of us can put our hands to do something.
Yes.
Yeah, titles are really, really good, but purpose is better.
Yes,
we don't need a fancy title to live our purpose.
That's right.
But can I say a word about how we treat one another? And that's everybody in this room. I'm not just talking to black folks. I'm just talking about how we treat one another. There's a level of vitriol and disdain that has overtaken our society. A lot of it does have to do with President Trump. But we can't let one man just consume us so much. You know, we done gave him too much power. Think about that. Our every move, our every problem, our every challenge, everything is centered around him. And I would argue to you that there are politicians that benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Even the ones who we vote for, who benefit from this Trump hysteria. That are trying to work on our mind, work on our mind, work on our mind, work on our mind. Because while we fixated on him, we ain't fixated on what they ain't done and what they ain't doing. We can multitask, so we can focus in on him and don't let them off the hook either. So what I'm saying is that in many cases we're making him bigger than what he is. This is a season. He ain't going to be there always. No matter what happens, he's not going to be there always unless we fail to plan and fail to repeal and replace. But this is the thing, though. We can't let this fight take away our ability to see the humanity in our sisters and brothers. I come from a mixed family. My brother is a conservative Republican. And sister and brother, can I tell you that I talk to my brother every morning at 7:30 a.m. because I'm trying to understand the mind of a conservative Republican. But I say this to you is that while we're tearing people down based on who they voted for, follow me on this. See, you don't know who people love. And I use my brother as an example because when I'm no longer Senator Nina Turner, the Honorable Nina Turner, President of our revolution Nina Turner, when I'm in that moment in my life where I ain't got a fancy title, the person that's gonna come see about a sister is my conservative Republican brother. So I'm saying this, let's not get so caught up in this thing that we lose friendships and relationships and fail to see each other's humanity over who somebody votes for. People too, and the last time I checked in America, we got choice. It ain't just about reproductive choice. You might not agree with people's choice, but they got choice. So if you believe in that, then you got to believe in that at all times. Our job is to win people over, and you can't win people over by calling them basement dwellers and deplorable and stupid and idiots, and you get what you deserve. One of the nastiest things, and I see some nasty stuff happening on Twitter, but I'll never forget when those hurricanes just hit Florida and Texas, to read the level of vitriol really coming from Democrats, people who identify themselves as Democrats. Some of them said the following, that the people of Texas got what they deserved because they voted for Mr. Trump. Why would you say something like that? It's not right. Because we are here to serve humanity. Who cares who they voted for? Who cares who their state went for? When our sisters and brothers in this country are in crisis, we stand together. And it doesn't matter who they voted for. We are taking this stuff too far. And we got to have the courage and commitment to even call out our own. When the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said that hate, he said darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can. And hate cannot drive out hate, only love can. And we gotta love humanity more than we love a commitment to a political party or to a candidate. We got to do that. So just don't let folks use us like that. Yeah, we gotta be on guard and we gotta fight. But we don't have to tear each other down. I believe that we should be hard on the issues and soft on people. That's how I roll. I try to roll that way all the time. So much so that it has impacted my family. My husband lost contract. I mean, it has been brutal. But as my sisters on the radio program ask, how do you keep doing it? I reflect on what my foremothers had to endure for me to even be able to stand in a position to say, okay, that's how I roll. We can do that for the next generation. We must do that. So I'm saying to you, let's not get so caught up. We got to make a demand. How do we reclaim democracy? By making some damn demands. Let these folks know we ain't playing with them, that there's going to be a consequence. And in the words of my grandma, now don't write a check your behind can't cash. She said the other word, don't write a check your ass can't cash. That we must be willing and able and ready, like Asa Philip Randolph and his contemporaries, like Fannie Lou Hamer and her contemporaries, like Mother Jones, who she didn't have a fancy title, but she stood up for coal miners and children. We have to be ready to give up something. And even in this day and age, we ain't even got to give up our lives for this fight. So many of our foremothers and forefathers, not only did some of them lose their lives, they lost their livelihood, yet while they lived, we talk about Mrs. Rosa Parks, but she gave up a lot. It wasn't just her determination to say that on this day, I'm not giving up my seat so that now we can sit anywhere. It wasn't just that, but her livelihood was threatened. No, she wasn't killed, but her livelihood was threatened. And that of her husband, so much so they had to move. We're not even enduring half as much as that, and we won't even do half as much in the 21st century. We got to get into that. before, baby. We have been here before, and what I mean by that, baby, we can overcome this. We will overcome this. We are overcomers, but we got to bind together. Conscious-minded folks of all walks of life, together, 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 together. So I want to close with these three things. Number one, I believe that the Creator of this great universe has given us two hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. I do believe that we are our sisters and our brothers' keepers, even our sisters and brothers who do not agree with us. We are their keepers. In this fight, for me, I'm not just fighting for people who voted a certain way. I am fighting for humanity. Black, white, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, everybody in between, gay, straight, lesbian, atheist, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, everybody. Humanity. That's how we got to work. We gotta use our two hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. Because I've never met anybody in all my life who said they ever wanted to be poor when they grow up. Nobody aspires. You know, I'm a professor, and usually on the first day of class, I ask my students what they want to be. They usually say doctors and engineers and lawyers and carpenters and nurses. I have yet to have one of my students say, Professor, I just want to be shown up poor. That's all I want. People don't say that. You know, everybody has a dream. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has a dream. But something happens along the way in life that may set some people back. So those of us who are blessed must use our skills and abilities to lift people. I say that to you because I understand. Oldest of 7 children. I am the oldest of 7 children. When I was 22 years old, I got some really bad news that my mother was in the hospital. In those days, we weren't able to text one another. It was just a good old-fashioned note on the refrigerator door. I remember this day like it's yesterday because I'm channeling this energy as I continue to travel this country to lift people to do and to live out their greatest greatness. I remember it like it was yesterday that my husband and I arrived at that hospital and a nurse leaped out of her seat and she told us to go to the family room because that's where all of my family was. My 6 siblings were already there. My brother that I told you about earlier, 6 feet 5 inches tall, I hadn't seen him cry since he was a little boy. All of my siblings were in that room and they were crying. And as I tried to contain myself, the oldest of those 7 children, I was 22 years old. My baby sister was 12. All of us are 2 years apart. Everybody in the room is crying. The emotion is so thick you can cut it with a knife. The doctor came in and she said, family, I hate to inform you, but your mother is in a coma. And my heart skipped a beat. And I asked the doctor, could I go to the room to see the woman who had nurtured 7 children who were not perfect. She was not perfect, but she was my mom. When I got to that room and I saw my mother's face and noticed that her eyes were rolled to the back of her head and her tongue was hanging out of the left side of her mouth, and I analyzed her clothing and noticed that the paramedics had cut her clothing from her body, I could no longer contain myself. And I started to have a flashback about 2 parents who got married really young. Yeah, my mom and daddy was married. Black folks do get married. But it just didn't work. And so they got a divorce. So I grew up the majority of my life in a single mother household, the custodial parent responsible for the everyday care and upkeep of 7 children. I remember I had a flashback to Christmas after Christmas, watching my mother cry herself to sleep because she could not afford to buy 7 children all the latest gadgets and designer clothes every Christmas because we have commercialized Christmas so much. I remember a mother who was too embarrassed to tell her children that she couldn't afford to pay the electricity, the electric bill, or that she couldn't afford to pay the rent, so we were evicted. Make up stories about why certain things were happening. I had a flashback about being in one room at one time, 7 children, even that one brother, 6 girls, 1 boy, sleeping in one room. Oh yeah, baby, I had flashbacks. As I asked the creator of this universe to bring my mother out of that coma, and it was not to be. So my mother died at the young age of 42 years old. With her dreams deferred, as Langston Hughes asked in his poem, what happens to a dream deferred? And she died at 42. No money in the bank, no life insurance policy, and on the system of welfare. So I stand before you as somebody that was supposed to be a statistic. I was not supposed to be a married woman of over 30 years.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
To a black man.
Amen.
have a son that is now a second-generation college graduate. I was supposed to be I tell you that story because we can't afford to give up on anybody.
Right.
And we can't afford to get caught up in other folks' politics so much that we lack the ability to try to lift other people and to help them to make it. Although my mother never lived to see me accomplish some pretty great things, I know that she is in heaven saying, "You go, girl. You keep speaking up. You keep fighting." So this is why I continue to fight for the least of these, for people who do not have a voice, or let me say that people do have a voice, but might not have the platform to get that voice out. That's what I'm saying. And all of us can do that too, because I'm fighting so that nobody else will have to realize what happens to a dream deferred. That whether it's the farmer in Wisconsin that I met, the family farmer that cares about Medicare for all, just like the mamas and daddies in Cleveland care about Medicare for all. I am standing up for the folks in Tyler, Texas, and Austin, Texas, and Columbia, South Carolina. I am standing up for people who are in need. That is my mission in life. All of you assembled here today have to determine what your mission is. Black woman, and I embrace it.
That's all right.
And then, lastly, in the words of my grandmother, because I always tell my grandma stories everywhere that I go. My grandma was born in 1913. She couldn't read or write, but she could count her money. And she kept her money in the Southern Ladies Bank and Trust. With a handkerchief. My grandmother kept money on one side and a pistol on the other. That's a whole other story. But my grandmother was one of the smartest women that I've ever known, and she had what we call in the African American community mother wit. When I asked my grandmother what does it take to be successful in life, she said, "My dear granddaughter, all you need are the 3 bones. I want to leave you with grandma's 3 bones: the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone." She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do each and every day, the reason why the human spirit keeps pressing is because we hope and believe that tomorrow will be better than today, will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth, the power to lift your voice, to make it be known, to not sit back and just take stuff. But baby, she said, the most important bone of them all, the supercalifragilistic expialidocious bone, is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep us standing through all of our trials and our tribulations. And sisters and brothers, in this life, we're going to go through some stuff, but we can't have a testimony without a test. And we are being tested to determine whether we have courage enough, conviction enough, and commitment enough to do what is right, even in the face of obstacles. That is our charge. So know this, that we will reclaim our democracy. That we have been here before, and that there is no mountain high enough, that our mission to reclaim our democracy is so high we can't get over it. Our mission to reclaim our democracy is so low we can't get under it. And our mission to reclaim our democracy is so wide we cannot get around it. That a people committed to justice cannot, will not, and must not be stopped. God bless you.